Hey, it's Justin. So recently I went to the Bay Area. Now, my friend Jordan messaged me a few weeks ago on Facebook asking about camera gear because he's getting into photography. So I decided to come visit and test out my camera, which is the Fuji X-T20. But unfortunately, right before my trip, I had to send it back for an exchange because of a messed up focus motor. So I was a bit let down, but I decided I'd make do with what I had and use my Note 8. It makes me think of the photography code. The best camera is the one uh, that you have on you. So I decided to practice my composition and technique and just try to capture some good shots. And though my Fuji X-T20 would have definitely given me better image quality, and I totally wish that I could have used that instead of my phone camera for all the shots I got, I still got some pretty good shots. So I just wanted to share them with you. Now, I'm also sharing these on Instagram, but I didn't like so much the aspect ratios I'd get on Instagram. So honestly, I think 16 by 9 is better, which is on YouTube, that's the aspect ratio. So yeah, you'll probably get a better view of the pictures here than there. But if you want to see other stuff I do, you can look at that as well. But overall, the Note 8 camera is pretty good, and I used the manual mode for most of the shots except for the first one I'm going to show you. That was at the spur of the moment and I just took it, but I'll go into the considerations I put into each of these shots. Now this picture was taken hiking towards Land's End. Now this part of the path is really cool because there's this cool tree tunnel and you're completely covered by trees. Then you walk out to this area, and as I was going through this area I saw this guy walking there, and it was just really cool to see. The path was really dark and then it gets really light, and so I only had a couple moments, so I quickly turned my phone's camera on and then snapped 2 shots. So I had to shoot in auto mode because I just had no time to really set the settings, and so the highlights on the trail were a bit blown out, which kind of sucked, and it was shot only in JPEG, so I couldn't recover those highlights. But I really like the shot, and I decided to convert it to black and white because with the highlights blown out like that, they didn't look so bad when they were when the entire photo is black and white. Now this photo was taken at the shoreline near Land's End. I really liked the way that the waves would crash against the rocks and make this really loud thud that you could really feel. And you could just feel the power of the waves. So I was trying to convey that in this picture. Now I was trying to get the waves crashing against the bigger rock, but if you've seen that in the top left part of the image, the second rock to the right, the water almost looks like it's splitting the rock in two from that angle, which I thought was awesome. But I would have wanted to use a faster shutter speed for this, but so that way the waves would be really isolated and it really shows the power of the waves. But because of the lighting, I had to use a slower shutter speed. And if you notice, there's the Golden Gate Bridge in the back, and I like the way the clouds kind of highlighted it. But me, Jordan, and Cameron were taking pictures of the previous rock, and then suddenly I turned left and then saw that the sunset was happening. And so the sunset was amazing, and the entire time it was overcast, and so suddenly the sun started breaking out, and we got some good shots. And this is one of my favorite pictures that I got at the shoreline. But if you notice in the bottom right, there's this weird coloration band. Which you notice some of the Note 8's photos were doing that, so that kind of sucked. But yeah, for this picture, I just wanted to really capture the sky, the beach, and the rocks. But I used a much faster shutter speed in order to uh, kind of darken out the rocks and just get more detail in the sky. In order to get more detail in the sky, you have to use a much faster shutter speed, or just lower the overall exposure. So now this one is really similar to uh, the previous one, but I also really like this one. I like the color in the sky a bit better in the previous photo, but this one was just really good too. I really like the color of the sand and the waves, and it was so hard to pick between the two. But the main advantage I like this one is it doesn't have that weird coloration band I was getting with in the previous photo. A lot of the photos I took had those bands. Now that I went back through and checked, but I don't know why that was happening. I don't know if so maybe my lens was smudged and I cleaned it and whatnot, but it was just something that was happening to a lot of my photos on the using the pro mode. Now for this next shot, I had to use it's a long exposure, so I had to use a tripod and cell phone tripod mount. So I'll just show that to you real quick. It's this Ritz Gear one. This is cheap, like $10 on Amazon from Ritz Gear directly. And then this one, I forgot the price, but it wasn't too much. I think it was like $7 or $10. But you just need these to keep the camera steady or the phone steady while you're taking the long exposure. And a quick tip is to use voice commands so you don't touch the phone, because when I was tapping the phone, some of the exposures I took were getting shaken at the start. So yeah, just keep that in mind if you try these. Now this photo was taken at Twin Peaks. I had to do a long exposure for this one because it was really dark, but yeah, this area is just gorgeous. The city lights were amazing, and I was just breathtaking for a moment. So I took many long exposures, but I decided on this one. The main thing is that it was really cool because I wouldn't catch those car trails, and with also the city in the background, but you had to really time the exposure right, because you could see the lights of the car coming around the bend, so you'd have to anticipate and then start it. Now the next couple of photos I took were on the plane ride home from Oakland Airport. Now it was right around sunset time when my flight took off, and I didn't think about it, but yeah, so this one, the clouds were breaking through so you could see the sunlight, and it was a cool sight to see. But the next photo is what I'm much more happy about. Now this one, it was just amazing. It was a sunset in the clouds, which I've never seen before, and the clouds were just this awesome color, and the way the glass, because as plane windows are two panes of glass, so it kind of distorts the image of the sun, but it kind of looks like this cool orange explosion. And it was just a breathtaking sight. And unfortunately, well, at the first start of the flight, this was in my view, but then it switched to the other side as the plane turned, so I didn't get to take more shots. Yeah, so those are my photos. So, the usual yada yada, like, subscribe, push for notifications. But I do plan to make more videos, without the semester starting, like, slowly. But I'd pretty much release basics on photography and understanding, like, considerations for camera gear and whatnot, like the most basic entry-level stuff. Now, I'm an enthusiast and not a professional, but I feel that because I just learned and it's more recent, that it's much easier for me to understand the current state of how photography is for new beginners. And I'll also point to other YouTube channels as well in videos and whatnot. So yeah, if you're interested in learning more about the basics of photography and understanding camera gear, I'll be putting videos on those.